Okay, hi guys. Today we are going to discuss the Illuminist Army. We're going to reference that book. It's an old book from Brother Abaris. And also we're going to touch on something that came from The War of the Ghosts and the Machines from Hockney regarding a factual conspiracy. So I'm going to quote him about the nature of conspiracy theories. And then also what to organize around. So I will have those quotes right here. So Logos conspiracy. So this is from The War of the Ghosts and the Machines by Hockney, and he was discussing conspiracy theories at some point in the book, and this section stood out to me. And he said, an enormous number of human beings are attracted to elaborate conspiracy theories about unseen forces deciding our destiny. Such theories are never conducted scientifically, mathematically, and philosophically, i.e. in logos terms. They're always about mythos, about an incredibly complicated story with limitless, beguiling ingredients. Traditional religions are, of course, exactly the same kind. Modern conspiracy theories are just old religions with the names and cast of characters changed. So yeah, that's generally true. And yeah, the thing about conspiracy theories is there's never any evidence. It's just some beguiling, fantastical story, right? Lizard people or whatever it is that there's no evidence for, but it sure is compelling and fantastic sounding. But on the point of a logos conspiracy, you could call what I've discovered and what I wrote about in my Planet Wars book just that. It is an actual logos conspiracy. And in this case, it is conducted scientifically, mathematically, and philosophically. I mean, it fits perfectly. Like what I've wrote about in my Planet Wars book, what I'll show here in a second, that's precisely what it is. It's a proven and demonstrated with evidence, scientific, mathematical, philosophical conspiracy to do dastardly and horrible things to our planet. So you may have seen these slides before. Elsewhere, much of the text is the same. The only points that are different is this point number 3 in all of them. And there's a fifth one, an Exhibit E, which I just can't fit on here. These four are enough. Anyway, the point is about the whole climate alarm, climate science problem, right? Climate science starts with this flat Earth diagram, which they call an average, right? They say, well, that's the average. And so you just draw it as a flat line. And I'm like, well, why not draw it as a sphere and just see what the difference is? So they start climate science, climate alarmism starts with this flat Earth diagram and works out the math for this flat Earth. And then from there conclude that we need to eradicate CO2 from the environment and block the sun. And what is the result of that? Like, what happens if that goes a little bit wrong? Removing too much CO2 and blocking the sun too much. Like, what happens if that goes a little bit wrong? What happens if it goes all the way wrong? You're talking about a scheme to eradicate all life on Earth. And it's not a stretch. Like, that's what it is. It's not saying what if. It's just saying this will be their result. Their avowed and stated goal is to eradicate CO2 and block the sun. I, of course, went just to the foundation, and we're not going to talk about their extrapolation. Of course, in Planet Wars, I make the point, look where they're actually heading to. But just at the scientific level, I'm like, okay, well, let's just present a different method. Instead of starting climate science, which then ends in that where I said it ends, why not start with a sphere for a model Earth, for a modeled energy budget, right? And then you get these insane responses, and they're like, scientists are literally like, no, that flat plane is a sphere. I'm like, well, how's it a sphere? It's drawn as a flat line. They're like, well, because it comes from a sphere. It's taking the surface area of a sphere. I'm like, yeah, but it's taking the surface area of a sphere and drawing it as a flat line. They're like, yeah, that's why it's a sphere. Like, do you get the sophistry? Like, that's sophistry, right? That's why I've used that term sophistry, which I actually got from Lyndon LaRouche. I didn't ever use that term very much in my life before, but I got it from Lyndon LaRouche and his LaRouche Pack people. One of his girls did a video. I mean, it's so long ago now, and I just really like that term, sophistry. Yeah, it's like sophistry. No, this is a sphere. This flat line is a sphere because it uses the surface area of a sphere. And it's like, okay, but you're drawing that surface area as a flat line. They're like, yeah, that's why it's a sphere. Sophistry, bullshit, right? And I'm like, why not just draw it as a sphere? Why not just actually draw it as a sphere, which means draw it as a circle on your piece of paper, right? And look what happens to the math. No, there's no difference in the math, right? Is what they say. So I submitted it to a bunch of journals, right? And then you got these ridiculous responses referring to my spherical Earth model for energy budget bulletin of the American Meteorological Society. Anyway, this is the point. I submitted to a whole bunch of different journals, so I'm proving the conspiracy. I'm proving that the conspiracy exists. There's scientific proof that the conspiracy exists. There's the mathematical proof, because I'm showing the math of what they're doing versus what should be done, right? And it's definitely all based in the philosophy of ontological mathematics, meaning that your math should represent what actually exists, not artificial abstractions, right? So that's precisely what Hockney defined here, right? A scientific, mathematical, philosophical conspiracy, right? That's what's happening. So anyway, yeah, BAM's Bulletin, American Meteorological Society. None of this has been demonstrated that the Earth is a sphere. It's incomplete and quite wrong in so many ways. I mean, guys, like, this is impossible. It's impossible that scientists say things like this about a spherical Earth, right? But they do, and of course they will say, and I say, well, you're kind of supporting flat Earth theory. They'll say, no scientist believes in flat Earth theory. That's so offensive to say that we believe in flat Earth theory. I'm like, okay, I accept that you don't believe in flat Earth theory, but you're using flat Earth diagrams, which flat Earth theorists would exactly copy and would work it out the exact same way if they were a flat Earth theorist. This is what you would do with these flat Earth diagrams. We're not flat Earth theorists, though. We don't believe it. Okay, yes, but you're using the same thing. And why not just use a sphere? Because a sphere has no evidence. It's wrong in so many ways. What else do they say? There's no evidence provided that your idea of a spherical Earth is a better method. What do they say down here? Much more extensive underpinnings are required for a spherical Earth. What did they say here? Your approach of a spherical Earth must be vetted by experts. You're a scientific journal. That's supposed to be your job, isn't it? Don't you vet things? Like, guys, this is impossible. I like that expression, or I like to liken it to that expression from Star Trek, a rift in the space-time continuum, a paradox. I've encountered a rift in the space-time continuum, which is a paradox, and it shouldn't exist. This shouldn't be possible to exist. It's a rift in the space-time continuum. It is a paradox in space-time. What's the resolution? Star Trek was so awesome for that, for getting that idea across, right? What's the resolution to something that is impossible? Because there is a resolution to it, because if it exists, if you observe that it exists and it looks like a rift in the space-time continuum and it looks like a paradox in the space-time continuum, and it shouldn't be possible, but it is possible because it exists, then there must be an explanation for it that you just don't understand yet, a higher level reality at work, which creates something that looks like a paradox, right? Of course, that's what my Planet Wars book is about, so go read that Planet Wars book to understand what this conspiracy is about, right? Now, the thing about this is that it is so outrageous and so unbelievable that no one can face it, right? Because it's flat Earth theory in modern physics, right? It's like the emperor's new clothes. It is simply too ridiculous for anyone to acknowledge. It's just so ridiculous. Everyone is committed to saving face on it, even those who have nothing to do with it, if only for the sake of saving other people from embarrassment, because it's that bad. Because it's flat Earth theory in modern physics being presented as climate science, which is then used to eradicate CO2, which means ending all life on Earth, and blocking the sun, which means doubly ending life. I'm really making sure that life on Earth is ended, right? It's so cringe, flat Earth, right? It's so cringe. It's too cringe. It's cringe to take it seriously. It's cringe to just be like, to talk about it with other people. Hey, did you know that they're doing flat Earth? Like, it's so unbelievable. Could you imagine at a dinner party being like, hey, did you know that modern science is doing flat Earth theory? You'd be laughed at, because it'd be like, there's no way. Everyone would be like, there's no way that they're doing it. They know that it's not flat Earth. Oh, sure, they've drawn it as a flat line, but it represents a sphere because it's the entire sphere's surface area. And it'd be like, yeah, but it's drawn as a flat line. Why not just draw it as a sphere and see how the math works out differently, right? It's so embarrassing and so cringe that no one can take it seriously on its face value, and that's what gives it its strength. It is such a fantastic lie. Just like the emperor standing there naked with his fat rolls and penis hanging out and pubes all over and looking disgusting. It's so embarrassing you can't point it out, right? And to be the one to point it out would be too embarrassing for yourself and everyone else. And the only person who can point it out is a very innocent, childlike personality, right? Which I suppose I've had. One must accept being cringe themselves and even pointing it out. And yeah, I feel that and I get that. And I'm like, this is so cringe and I feel like cringe. And there's a lot of aspects of my personality which are super cringe. I guess that's what gives me the power and the ability to point this out when most other people just can't face it, right? It's a disappointment in reality itself. It violates a basic trust that the world works, that humanity is working and we're doing real things. This is such a fundamental violation. It's like, holy shit, humanity, all of our science, it's all a fucking joke. It's all just like there's no there. We got no meat in the game. This is so bad. Like, it's so bad. It just like disrupts your reality of human existence, right? If scientists can fuck this up, then what can we trust is real, right? We need to have an anchoring, some sort of anchor points in our reality that we can take for granted around us. And if scientists at the highest levels of policy and government and academia have done this, this is like the biggest revolution. I mean, you talk about Illuminism being a revolutionary. This fucking shakes humanity to its basis. This shakes humanity down to the core, and the only thing left in that revolution is Illuminism, because only Illuminism can pick up the pieces. That is ontological mathematics, as I've done for you with my books and my videos. It's so unsettling. It is such an unsettling degree of revolution to point this out and be like, that is how fucking naked humanity is right now with our purported reason and our academics, right? And our whole political and scientific fucking apparatus and everything. It's done for. It's gone. It can't survive this. We're having a revolution right down to one of the lowest levels you can get to. But you know what survives after that? You know what is the one thing that survives? Ontological mathematics survives because it is the only vector of survival out of this retardation. And we're going to discuss what to do to fix it. So what to organize around. So this is now the Illuminist Army from Brother Abaris. So I'll just read the highlighted parts here. So action. So JW, whoever that was, said, I want to know what's the plan of action now? All our gnosis has got to move from thought into action. I've been posting all kinds of material on meritocracy and getting the word out, but I feel like it's time for action. No more bullshit. It's time for the movement to move. We're all equipped, well equipped and ready to go. So what's the plan, AOI? Like you said, no more bland speeches. It's about that time. And the time is now. So what's the next phase? Does anybody here have an idea? Can we pull all our energies together and figure this one out? We don't have any time to waste. The OWO is getting stronger every day. Old World Order. It's time for action. Enough talk, philosophy, and theory. It's time for a new world order of light. It's time to kick some ass. We are what the world is waiting for. Let's do it. Read my fucking books. Read Planet Wars and see the state that we're actually in. Okay? So whoever DF was says, if you want to do something, then think about the following questions. How can you get a bunch of talented people working together? What platform would be appropriate to meet, to exchange ideas, and to cooperatively work together? I don't have this in the slide, but I'll just say for now it looks like a good free speech platform where you can actually discuss revolutionary ideas and ideas which go against political correctness is Gab. You cannot do it on X. You definitely can't do it on Facebook or anywhere else. You can probably do it on private channels on Telegram or something like that, but that's a little bit cumbersome, not very smooth and efficient. Gab seems for now fully committed to the U.S. constitutional principles of free speech, and you won't get banned on there unless you're doing violent things or saying violent things or saying you a plan, which is obviously understandable, but for politically incorrect ideas and revolutionary ideas, it seems like the only place you can do that right now is Gab. So I do have a channel on Gab. I think it's just called gab.com/ontologicalmathematics. So, I mean, if you want to meet there, I don't check it very often, but maybe I'm going to actually maybe pay for Gab and start posting there now. I was posting on X, but of course, with the material that I've been presenting lately, the censors got upset and canceled my account there. So maybe I'll move to Gab, and if I do, I'll let you guys know. But like I said, there's already an ontological mathematics channel on Gab, which I own. So what about leadership? You'll need strong leaders. These have to be tough people with organization skills and high motivation. There will be a lot of psychos, new agers, and egomaniacs causing trouble. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll talk about who those people are exactly. They must be dealt with, or they will poison the atmosphere. Believe me, we had enough of them. How to gain attention, videos, posts on platforms, flyers, business cards, etc. Where do we find the rare individuals that are motivated, skilled, and disciplined and altruistic? So here, the answer is simple. We organize around white people, Europe and her colonies, white history and white achievements, and having a white-only space of Europe and her colonies. We should have a critical analysis of other races and their many unbecoming attributes. And we should have whites setting the standard for civilization and for decorum and behaviors. This gets you meritocracy and the Star Trek future. White people were already doing this. European people were already doing this. And in the last 100 years, we've become saddled by taking care of the third world. And yeah, that gets into that concept of the prime directive, right? Where you don't interfere with other civilizations which have not advanced on their own to as high a level as you. And that principle is actually self-defensive. A lot of people think it's about sort of withholding yourself or stopping yourself from violating civilizations with less development. It's actually a defensive principle. It's actually self-defensive. Because like I said in the previous videos, if you give less developed civilizations your technology, then and they can't maintain it and they don't understand it, well then you become enslaved to them if you're going to keep on maintaining it for them, right? So it's actually, and then they can actually use your technology against you in ways that you didn't expect, right? They can use it to hurt you, right? And take you over and kill you because they don't have your social principles, right? For example. So it's actually self-defensive. Now, I know sometimes it's silly to bring up concepts from science fiction, but in science fiction there are legitimate concepts which actually come from real-world experience. So the idea of the prime directive in Star Trek, yeah, sure, it sounds like science fiction, but it actually comes from historical reality, right? There are other concepts from science fiction, for example, like the Kardashev scale, where a level 2 civilization creates Dyson spheres around their stars and captures all the energy from the stars. That's not possible. That's like not a practical or reality-based science fiction. That's pure science fiction, where that would be something that would never be possible to actually do. And if even a civilization did develop the ability to build a Dyson sphere around their star, with that level of ability and technology, they wouldn't need to build a Dyson sphere around their star. They would have other methods in any case of energy manipulation and energy development. So it kind of doesn't work. So anyway, that's just a perspective on science fiction references. But the point is here, be rationally racist, because it always was. It always was rational to be racist and to judge other races for their virtues and qualities which are different from your own. And it's irrational. It is actually a clinical mental illness to claim that everyone and all races are equal and everything is equal and men and women are equal and, etc. It's actually clinical mental illness of irrationality. And in the future, we will actually diagnose mental illness, at least partly along that line. To what degree does somebody equate things? If somebody equates things that are clearly different, then that would be an indication that a person is suffering from a mental illness, right? Okay, so that's what we organize around. And some of you should start trying this. You should start trying it and do it rationally and professionally and calmly, right? It doesn't mean you have to act like an idiot or anything like they present in the movies, which is, of course, all artificial representation of the concept, right? Just be rational and be racist and acknowledge the differences, right? And acknowledge that white people set the standard and Europe sets the standard for decorum, for behavior, and for civilization. And yeah, we should have great encyclopedias almost, or books at least, which, and a lot of this has been suppressed. For example, like what was discovered in Africa and the Congo is horrific. Like what the Africans were doing to each other with mass slaughter and bloodletting was horrific. And for example, the Belgians in the Congo, the Belgians are always accused of doing awful things. No, they stopped. The Belgians stopped what was a horrific degree of violence that the African tribes were performing on each other, just like Cortez in with the Aztecs, right? Just horrific degrees of mass slaughter for ritual sacrifice. And yeah, white people stopped it. Like, white people stopped racism. White people stopped all this disgusting sacrifice that these other races around the world regularly engaged in. And so how wonderful it is for white people to have done that, right? But in the end, we are learning through a very practical experience here the value of the prime directive, and maybe that you don't want to make yourself dependent on sustaining the other civilizations, right? Who are only going to use your wealth and your technology against you. Okay, so mental domain action. So this would be a sort of a space-time domain. Space-time domain actions. It's as simple as that. Start organizing around white people, right? Start promoting white people. Start promoting Europe. Start promoting Europe being white and getting rid of all the brown and black and etc. and yellow immigrants. The white countries, Europe should be for Europeans only, white people only. Keep those spaces, sort of sanctified and clean and wonderful. Yeah, and start doing critical analyses of other races and their unbecoming attributes and their lacks of certain virtues and things like that in comparison to white society. And so just start doing that. Just start organizing around white people. You do that, you automatically will get meritocracy in the Star Trek future that you want. You'll get it. That's how you get meritocracy. All these meritocratic principles that the Illuminists talked about in their books, these meritocratic principles, those are white principles. Those are European principles. The other races generally don't have those principles and don't follow them, like the Indians, the Chinese, the blacks. Who else is there? The Jews. They don't follow these meritocratic principles. Hockney came up, and the Illuminist writers were able to write down these meritocratic principles because they're already European white people virtues that we already hold as virtuous, right? Now, what right do we have to apply those standards to other races that don't hold those as virtues and don't hold those standards? We don't have that right, right? And so why bother? It's just a waste of time, right? But so that's why if you just maintain and bolster and build on white culture and maintaining white culture, well, you're already going to get meritocracy and subsequently your Star Trek future. Okay, now mental domain actions. So these mental domain actions, the actions which I will discuss here, can really only be performed by the gods in the mental domain. So that is what I will be performing when I get there on my own. But just as an outline here, so a quadruplectic dialectic has been being solved via the 4 phases of the MBTI personality type. So that's what's been happening with humanity in the last few thousand years, is a quadruplex dialectic, mental dialectic has been being solved through the 4 elements of the MBTI, Myers-Briggs type indicator, personality type. And of course, that's extroverted versus introverted, right? So that's one dialectic. You have one element of the dialectic. You have sensing versus intuitive. You have thinking versus feeling. You have perceiving versus judging, right? So you have these 4 dichotomies that are all being solved and all at the same time in parallel, right? Very efficient, right? The gods who set this up are very efficient. They're solving 4 dichotomies all at one time to see what the best solution is, right? And now we have arrived at a time when we can say what the solution is, okay? So extroverted and introverted and perceiving and judging are all beneficial to society, and they create interesting and valuable social dynamics. So the differences between perceiving and judging, a perceiving person, is really picking things apart to the details. The judging person can scan all that and make a quick solution, right? That's a wonderful dialectic that can stay operating for now, right? Extroverted versus introverted, that seems pretty beneficial. That's fine. I mean, maybe that's a bit more social if you think of, the introverted goth girl and the extroverted jock. I mean, that is a wonderful combination. I was kind of like that in university, and wow, I'll tell you, being with an introverted goth girl is a hell of a lot of fun. A hell of a lot of fun. Like when you are a big, like I freaking had such big muscles, like because I went to the gym, I was huge, and like she's like, man, it was just so good. That was some of the best love making I had in my life. TMI, I'm sorry, too much detail, but it's just, yeah, extroverted, introverted, and then just there's other aspects too. I don't know why I brought that up, but these seem to be valuable right now. Perhaps in the future, with further social refinement and whatever other problems we might face in the future, it might become apparent that it needs to split one way or the other, or there needs to be some sort of synthesis or something between those. But for now, at this intermediate stage of this quadruplectic dialectical experiment being performed, yeah, the E and I's and the P and J's are fine. Can't see a problem with them. However, the sensing and feeling types have been resolved. They are destructive to society and to others and to the planet itself. They are both anti-spiritualist, anti-becoming, anti-life, anti-mind, and are a clear and present threat to humanity. They are as dangerous as a weapon. Like if you were a god and you went to another planet and you inserted into their population sensing and feeling type personalities, you would destroy that planet if that planet didn't have enough, resources or its own spiritual development to protect itself from what the sensing and feeling types do to that planet. The sensing and feeling types will destroy that planet, and that's what they're attempting to do here, right? And we need to basically eradicate. They must be eradicated entirely. Those psychological expressions must be shut down. So that has to happen in the mental domain, so that those types will no longer be expressing themselves into the material domain. And yes, of course, a monad is immortal and indestructible, but that doesn't mean that it's not changeable. And so there are methods to change the sensing and feeling types, to reformat them to a different mode or level at which they can be redeveloped. And so that is what will be happening. And I will be doing a lot of that, in charge of that myself, and some of you may be helpers. And it will have, you do the as above, so below thing, it will have a so below effect in that you will see a very large number of people leaving the planet, not being here anymore. And that doesn't just mean the other races. A hell of a lot of white people are going to be gone too, but pretty much, the other unbecoming races, they'll be gone entirely. And the vast majority, a very large number of white people will be gone because a very large number are sensing or feeling types. You don't have to be sensing and feeling. It's one or the other. You can be everything else, but if you are sensing or feeling, you won't be existing anymore in that format, in that state. So S's and F's, the sensing and feeling types, comprise the midwit class. They serve no purpose to society. They have no value in society, and they have a net negative, massive negative effect, a totally destructive effect on not only on the physical world, but also on the spiritual world. They have to be entirely eradicated, and they will be, and that's what I will be doing once I am out of here. So the S's, the sensing types, are the scientific materialist midwits who deny all possible meaning, and they destroy the planet with sophistry. And then it's the feeling types who believe what the scientific materialist sensing type midwits are saying, that we should, eradicate CO2 and block the sun. It's the feeling types who then support it, right? So yeah, they're so dangerous. And then of course the scientific materialists, they deny mind, they deny the spirit, they deny the soul, and they basically would relegate existence to a pure materialist slavery where we basically worship computers and word calculators, right? In any case, what I've shown in my Planet Wars book is they cannot exist here, and they will not be existing here on this planet anymore. So how nice will that be? We're going to completely get rid of the scientific materialist midwits. They won't exist anymore. And then the feeling types are the various religious nut jobs of the various types, which Hockney, in all the books went to extensive length describing. Abrahamists, the Karmists, the Buddhists, and etc., right? And also the feeling types are the narcissists, and narcissists are extremely antisocial and psychotic people. So narcissists are awful. So that's who makes up the feeling types are the narcissists, and they're the religious freaks. And of course, the feeling type religions, you can say, well, aren't the feeling types spiritual? Well, no, they're not actually spiritual. They're religious, but they're spiritual in a negative sense. They're spiritual in a sense that still denies the value of the soul as a sovereign becoming God, right? I mean, I needn't go over it here, but they claim to be spiritual, but they make a mockery of spiritualism, right? They make a mockery of it. They really work together, the scientific sensing, the scientific materialist sensing type midwits and the feeling type midwits. They really work together to create this destroyed society where we're going to basically just destroy the world. They're responsible for all the retardation and irrational behavior. So we're completely getting rid of them on the mental domain side, and that will have a reflection. I mean, just getting rid of them on the material side means that physically on Earth, you will see the complete eradication of almost all races. The only ones who will be remaining seems that it would be the European white people, and that includes, of course, the Northern Russians. Probably not the Mongolian strain of Russians, but the more pure white strain. And then I think Japanese will actually survive it. And I said not all of them. It's not like all white people are sanctified and wonderful. No, like you're probably going to see 85-90% of white people gone too, right? But of that, there will be white people, and I think Japanese will be remaining. Some Japanese will be remaining as well. That'll be the only people who remain on the planet. And from there, we will develop a wonderful, beautiful Star Trek style and even Star Wars elements in there too, because we will be developing our mental powers to have mental control over reality, kind of like the Jedi do, right? In that sort of sense, I think that would be possible. And then, of course, our technological development will, of course, go off scale. And it'll be a whole new world. But that's what's going to happen. Okay. So support this work. So remember last time I was kind of making fun of central bankers. This is really low effort, and it's a bit cringe. So I just call it Central Wanker Midwit, because they really are midwits, the central wankers, central banking wankers, right? And he has his balance sheet, and he's just like this guy is literally a pervert. He has his balance sheet where he makes up a number, and then he sees that other people are being slaves to equal the other column. And then everybody's like, oh God, yeah, this is like the best. And he's just like jacking it to it because he's just like a disgusting pervert. And it's not he's like, they're literal perverts for an Excel column sheet with matching entries where one entry he just made up out of thin air and the other entry is balanced by slaves making shit. Right? And yeah, I mean, I guess that's a mode that you can run a planet on and get things happening, but it really just reduces to a perversion. And so his words here are just sort of indicative of his love. Like he's literally in love with balance sheets like this. Like they're really in love with it in a perverted way. So anyway, Grug here. It's like, what the actual fuck is wrong with that guy? And then the genius here is like, well, he's a balance sheet peeping Tom pervert. He gets a hard-on from watching him buy shit. So, of course, Monero, in general crypto, but Monero especially because Monero is anonymous. Yeah, it's a balance sheet. It's a very very sophisticated balance sheet, which doesn't allow people to be perverted with it. Which doesn't allow people to be perverts with it. Doesn't allow people to watch what you're spending and what you're doing. With it, right? And Bitcoin actually doesn't satisfy that. Like these central wankers, they actually like Bitcoin now because they realize that they can track everything that you're spending a lot. Like there are ways to use Bitcoin anonymously. It's getting more and more difficult, though, and they can really track everything now. And so the central wankers love that. And that's why they want to come up with their central bank digital currencies where they can literally control what you're allowed to spend with your digital currency, right? So anyway, we're going to get rid of all that. They're the central wankers and they're the midwits and they're not going to exist anymore here. We're going to have the rationalist types, the thinking, judging and perceiving, and the extroverted, introverted, intuitive, right? And so we won't even have room for this sort of idiocy. And so, yeah, we'll have Monero completely digital, completely anonymous digital currency, and then, of course, gold as a real, actual asset that represents something physical labor, numismatic value, or whatever you call it. And so, yeah, both Grug and the Genius recognize the value of Monero. Private crypto, which is equivalent to cash, a digital equivalent to cash, which allows what cash allowed, which was private transactions. And there just should be private transactions, because the moment you have non-private or public transactions, you start attracting this sort of parasite, the central wanker parasite, who then wants to get in there and start fucking with it, right? So that's why it has to be kept private, because otherwise you will attract these parasites to your planet. Okay, good. So anyway, yeah, donate to me via XMR Monero. And yeah, I mean, that's one thing I could hire people for, right? Is I would love to hire people to start writing, sort of encyclopedias or books just about European history, and then about writing about, doing critical analysis of the other races and how they don't, sort of fit in or measure up to the white standards for civilization and decorum. And we're going to say that we do set the standard, because we do, obviously. How could you deny it at this point? You'd have to be insane. You would have to be so insane as to call everything equal, right? It's not to say that the other races don't have their own particular values. Maybe they do have here and there, right? But in general, certainly not nearly as developed as European civilization. All right, so anyway, here's the Monero address. And yeah, here's go to my page, and basically Planet Wars sums up what's happening with the sensing and feeling types and what they're going to do to the planet if they're not stopped. And so we've come to a point in the dialectical development and evolution of civilization where we see rationally what changes need to be made. And so those changes will be made once we get rid of the sensing and feeling personality types as a viable way to incarnate. I mean, obviously with the knowledge of the gods, we'll see exactly how that's working, but we are evolving the dialectic, and we have solved two elements of the psychological dialectic, and we know where it should go now. So wonderful, right? A wonderful degree of evolution that's going to be happening here. Very wonderful. Yeah, that's it, guys. And I got a roast chicken that I got to get out of the oven now, and it's going to be delicious. So I hope you all have a nice day, and take care, and bye-bye.